January 24th, 2022. You're listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. I'm Kevin.
And that makes me Don.
And we had to start a little late today, 8 minutes late, because we had audio problems. Not that anybody knows, because we don't do this live or anything like that, but had a little bit of audio issues.
Specify that we had audio problems, that we had no idea what it was, and it just fixed itself.
It did, yeah. There was like this crazy bird noise, and then it started working, and I have no idea why. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right, I guess. I mean, it's been snowing for like a year.
You know, the funny thing is, it's like we haven't had any snow, and then this past weekend and today, it just like dumped like a foot of snow on us, basically.
Yeah.
And
well, last week was the big one.
Yeah.
Today was like a foot. Yet last week was like a foot and a half or whatever.
Yeah, it was just a lot. Like they were predicting we'd get some, but they didn't know that we were going to get this much, and it was just like a lot all at once. I mean, it's not like mountain snow or anything.
Nah.
We've had snows like this before, but it's like all like a lot. And then normally in Cleveland, you'll get a snow, and then if you wait like 3 or 4 days, it's above freezing again, and the snow starts to melt, you know?
Right.
But so far, we've just been in a cold cycle here, so we're just like, they're always like the Arctic air is blowing in and stuff.
It's like 12 degrees out. There's like snow everywhere. It like snows, and then it's like 12 degrees out and sunny, but that's not enough to melt anything. It's just like, oh, it's so nice outside, but everything's a snow hill.
Yeah. It's crazy. I got some trash because it happened on my trash day. And so out on like my tree lawn, I have these boxes with trash in them, but they're buried under snow and they've been there for like a week. Yeah. And it's just like, well, whatever. Yeah, stupid.
I guess something did happen to me this week.
Oh yeah.
What? Because of the snow. What was it? Last Monday, right? We whatever. That's when it snowed.
Yeah.
All day Monday and stuff, and it was like 2 feet everywhere. I woke up in the morning, and my mom, she woke me up. She goes, "Hey, the heater's not working." And I was like, "What?" She goes, "The heater's not working." I was like, "Oh man!" Like a year or so ago, last year or 2 years ago, something like that. I can't tell anymore because of COVID, and we had this problem where the heat wouldn't turn on. It was blowing cold air, and then it would just shut off. And of course, I got Gilly, my buddy Gilly. He does heating and air conditioning and stuff. So whenever anything happens, I always call him. So last year I called him, and he came over and he's looking, and I was like, "Here, we can't get any heat." And he's like, "Okay, I feel bad for the guy because it's the middle of winter and he's really busy, and he's like stopping everything to come over here, to help us out and stuff." And he's always good about it. So last year he did it, and he comes in, he goes, "Yeah," he goes, "all your stuff's working." He goes, "Everything's fine." He goes, "You must have got snow up in the vent." He goes, "Snow goes into the vent and it covers the lid so that when the gas turns on."
Yeah, you guys could have died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Right. So it has a safety switch that shuts it off. And it's like, oh, okay. So Monday it went off, and I went out there and I looked, and I was like, all right, what did he do? I turned the heat on. I look, flame comes on, it goes to kick on, cuts right out. And I go, well, there's the problem, Mom. The vent is blocked, and we're going to have to wait till tomorrow for the sun to come out and melt it, release the snow and stuff. And she's like, really? I said, yeah. I go, that's what happened last year. I go, there's no point in calling them because I know exactly what the problem is. It's everything's working until it turns on. And that's what happened last time. And so luckily we have like a couple little heaters.
Yeah. Electric heaters. Right.
Yeah. So plug them in. I put them both around my mom. I was like, here, you take these. And that's what we did. We were just waiting. So I left. I was like, here, Mom, you get these 2 heaters. I'm taking off. I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm not going to stick around here. It's freezing. It's free. My bed's cold. It's like everything's just cold. It was like 60 degrees in here.
Just abandon your mom. You're fine.
Yeah. She was like, you got heaters. You're fine. And she was, she was all covered up and stuff. And, she's got the heaters blowing on her. She's like sitting under there. I'm like, are you going to be okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. I was like, all right, cool. I'm out. So I left. I left because there's heat in the car. So it's like, I'll just go drive around a dash or whatever, and, make some money and stay warm. And my brother texts me and he goes, hey, Mom says there's no heat in the house. What's going on? It's just like, oh boy, here we go. And it's Ian. So it's like the school teacher. So it's like he knows everything about air conditioning and heating and all this stuff or whatever. And so I text him. I go, yeah. The vent's blocked. It won't turn on because of gas and stuff. They don't want to gas us out and kill us. And he goes, are you sure? What were you talking about? Like, he's like, I asked Mom if she wants to come to my house. She doesn't want to leave. She's fine there. I go, she's got heaters on her. She's covered in blankets. Everything's cool. Everything's, I go, yeah, it's cold. It's cold in the house, but whatever. It's like, we're alive. We're not going to die. It's not Sub-Zero. It's not, it's not like The Thing. We're all covered in snow walking around the house like, oh. So, I was like, and he goes, okay, well, you got it handled? I go, yeah, I got it. I got everything handled. And then I come home and I'm like, all right. I come home. I walk in the door. My mom's got the blankets off her. She's like, oh my God, I'm sweating. She goes to see these heaters. They're too much on me. She's like, oh geez. I was like, all right. So I took the one in my room, put it in my room. I'm sitting here. I was like playing a game or whatever. I'm just sitting here. And my mom comes walking in with the phone. She goes, your brother wants to talk to you. I was like, oh Jesus, here we go again. Same brother. And he's like, so wait a minute, tell me exactly what's going on here. And I'm just like, oh my God. So I explained it to him. I said, this is what the deal is and all that stuff. Okay, well, why don't we just go up on the roof and unclog it? And I said, well, first of all, I'm not putting a ladder on the icy ground, on the icy pavement underneath the roof, right? Because that's just dumb. I'm like, and then plus once I get up to the roof, then what am I going to do? I'm just going to slide off and kill myself.
Right.
So what's the point of that? He's like, well, can't we pay somebody? Can't we get somebody in there? I go, my dude, who I call, I can get him in here. I'm not wasting his time. I go, there's people all across the county probably without heat at all that can get their heat turned back on that he's helping. So I'm not going to waste his time when it's going to be less than 12 hours and we'll be back to normal. I don't know, man. I don't believe this. I don't think that's true. I think there's something going on. I'm like, dude, listen. I go, there's a big vent up coming out the roof with a big cage over it that you can't get into. And that's what the snow does. It finds its way in there, and because it was snowed so hard, I was like, it found its way in there and it just blocks it up. I go, give it a couple hours and it'll be fine. Well, can't we pay? I go, dude, I'm not paying somebody to come out here and tell me exactly what I've told you because that's what's going to happen. The guy's going to come out here and be like, yeah, your flu's blocked. You can't get over. And it's like, he's like, well, we're paying him. Can't he climb up on the roof? I go, no, they don't know. I'm not sending somebody up on, listen, I go, the driveway's icy. The roof is icy. Everything's covered in ice. And there's this like 3-foot pipe with a cage over the top of it. Then he's going to have to take it all apart in the middle of winter. Like it's 10 degrees outside. You want him to take all this stuff apart just to scoop out a handful of snow. We're fine. We got heaters. We're good. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. And I was just like, you know what?
Brothers, man.
Yeah, I was just like, you know what? I tell you what. I go ask Mom if she wants to come over here. If she wants to come over your house, she can come over your house. I don't care. I was like, I'm staying here. I'm like, I'm good. Oh, well, she said she doesn't want to come over. And I said, so what does that tell you? I was like, right. I'm not keeping her hostage. I'm not telling her, hey, you gotta put up with the cold. I mean, I kind of am. I'm kind of like, hey, we got to put up with this, but we got heaters. We're warm. We're fine. So yeah, so that happened. The next morning I woke up, the heat was on.
Wow. Look at that. See? Look at you.
Just like I said.
I'm amazed the sun would warm that up just because it's on the roof and it's covered in snow and shit. Like,
well, that's the thing. But that's like I said, it's in a pipe, like a steam pipe. Like, I don't know, it's not a steam pipe.
So the heat from the house is warming it up too, then.
Yeah, I mean, we had those 2 heaters on, and it was like I'm looking at the thing. I'm like, oh, it's 60 degrees in here. We put the heaters on, and I come back here like an hour later. It's like 63 degrees. I was like, oh, yeah. We're actually warming the house up. So, you had that plus the sun. The sun will melt something. Yeah. Even
that makes sense.
So it's like it wasn't like 3 feet of snow inside of this thing. It was like I said, there's like a cage around it or whatever, so it all can't get in there, but some does. And sometimes that happens. It blocks the vent. And luckily for the safety device, it shut the heater off so we don't get gassed out.
Right. That's really important for sure.
Yeah. So he couldn't understand it. And I was just like, you're an educator. You should really know this stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much the only exciting thing that happened to me this past week.
Sorry to Oz. Oz got the COVID.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he had mild symptoms like you and I had.
Yeah.
He had a little bit of a cough, but not much, I guess. And he's pretty much done with it. At this point, I only know like a small handful of people that haven't caught the damn thing yet, right? Joe, who
Right.
never leaves his parents' basement.
Right.
I think my brother hasn't had it, but he generally doesn't go anywhere. And he does drive, though. And if he did get it, it would be hard to tell because he calls off sick to work so much that you'd just be like, I don't know if he's telling the truth or it's just a ploy to get out of work, you know?
Yeah.
And he'd just be like, I'm tired of sleep. And, you know, he wouldn't, whatever. So I don't know, maybe him. And then like, I mean, I don't know. Everybody else I know has pretty much had it, you know, one version of it or another, you know what I mean? Like some people like Y-Rock and stuff had the Delta. I don't know what Cease had. He had it before Delta. Alpha. You know, Larry says he's had something. He just says,
but he's got everything.
He's got a cold. Is what he says, but you know, it's not.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people, and it's just whatever. It's like,
we went really quickly from I don't know anybody who had it to I don't know anybody who hasn't had it.
I mean, because of this new Omicron. I mean, it just like washed over everybody like fast. You know, like. Yeah. It didn't matter if you were vaccinated or not. It was just like, boom, now you have COVID. And, you know, it's like, I'm fairly careful, but I hung out with people that were vaccinated, except Larry. And, you know, nope, didn't matter. Oh, well, at least I survived it. Got a little bit of ear damage, but other than that, it's all good.
Yeah, that happened. That happened to me the other day.
Oh, like you still got the thing too? Like
it stopped. It stopped for a while, but like the other day, I put something on my phone on the speaker, and I went, "Uh-oh." And I was just like, "Whoa, why does it feel like that?" I'm like, "Why is it doing that?"
I sat there and thought about it too while like it was going on. I was just listening to it while it was doing it, thinking, like, what is that? Like, what what is bothering me about that? Like trying to focus in on where that is coming from.
Right.
I couldn't get it. It just seems like you said last time, like it's something in the ear or something, you know, like it doesn't like a frequency or something. It's just angry. I don't know. Yeah. It's weird. Yeah. I don't know. You're the only one, you and I are the only ones I know that at least have I don't know how many people listen to speakerphones like as much as you and I do. But we're the only ones I know that have this weird ear thing with this. And the funny, we didn't get it from each other. Like we haven't seen each other in forever. So, you know, strange, but whatever. At least somebody I know, you know, nobody else thinks I'm crazy. At least there's one guy that can back me up. That COVID gave it to me.
We got it at Corber's wedding.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe Corber hasn't had it. I don't know. I don't think he's written anything if he did have it or not, but they got a lot of people in that house in and out. I think she's got, you know, kids and stuff. I mean, I know she does. So I would be surprised if they don't have it, but I don't even know what she does for work. You know, he works in that hotel, I think. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. The audience doesn't care.
Yeah. I saw Ram and his wife.
Oh yeah.
A week and a half ago or something like that. I was DoorDashing. I went to Bibby Bop to pick something up.
Oh yeah, the Bibby Bop. Yeah.
Yeah, at Crocker Park, and I was walking towards the building, going towards the door, and I hear somebody go, "Daddy!" And I was just like, you know, I don't. Whenever I don't instantly look when people say my name,
right?
Because it's like sometimes I'm like, okay, who is it? I may want to ignore them. and I'm like walking towards the door and I hear Anderson, Daddy, and then two people. There's like a girl and a male and a female, and I was just like, all right, what the hell? And I turned and looked, and these two people were walking down the sidewalk towards me, and I had no idea who they were because they both had masks on, they had hats on, jackets, big bulky jackets and stuff. And I'm looking at them, and they're like, "Hey!" and they're waving, and I point at myself. I'm like, "Me?" And they go, "Yeah, you, Daddy. What's up?" And I was just like, "Huh?" And so I stopped. And I'm like, I look, and he takes his mask off. I go, "Oh, it's Ram."
That's amazing because he's so distinctive, but the mask just, you know.
Right. It's also a visual thing, too, you know, when you see him. And he's like, "Hey."
Right.
I was just like, "Oh, it's," and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm I'm dashing. I'm going into Bibby. We're going into Bibby Bop. I was like, well, have fun. I'm not sticking around.
Yeah, it's not a social occasion.
Yeah. But I thought I'd throw that in there.
That's
Sorry.
funny. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, I didn't. I haven't done very much because there hasn't been a lot going on. You know what I mean? It's that time of year, but there hasn't been any like, hey, we're gonna all go to see this one movie, or hey, we're gonna there's a concert thing going on. I mean, yeah, in November we're gonna see Wasp, but there's nothing like Sully's now. Hey, I'm spinning records at it's class or whatever. Now that's class or whatever. Nothing. There's just nothing going. At least I'm not being invited to anything. So, whatever. No retro, no cinema wasteland. It's just been dead. That's okay. Yeah. It's just that time of year that fucking sucks in a way because it's like dark, early and it's snowy and cold, and then there's nothing to do.
Right.
Fucking COVID, whatever. Thursday, I'm trying to maybe do some different trivia. I'm going to go to $2.
Yeah.
Middleburg. And see, they started it back up. They had that was the one with the Star Wars trivia the one time. And so we'll see. I don't know if it's one of those ones where you got to pay, though. I'm not into that.
Because pay to do trivia.
It just goes to somebody else. Yeah. Because we're not going to win. So the fix is in if it's a pay trivia. Somebody else is going to get the money. So you finished, I'm sure you finished Hawkeye. Yeah? No?
Yes.
What'd you think about that?
It was all right.
Yeah, I think it was all right. That's a good way to put it.
I guess I should say spoilers for anybody out there listening.
It's been on for a while now, folks. If you haven't watched it, you're never going to get Disney Plus.
Exactly. It's your own fault.
It's not that deep anyway. So.
No, but I liked the way they used the Black Widow's sister.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like just an assassin type who's just cold blooded and calculated and like I'm coming in here to do, you know what I mean? Where she had the play off of Kate Bishop and stuff. And of course, seeing the Kingpin again.
That was great.
I like that. But I mean, the majority of it was like I felt like I was watching a different version of Die Hard because it was Christmas and it was all about Christmas.
Yeah.
They're like, we got to get out of here. We got to go. I got to go. The kids got to get breakfast or whatever. So I thought it was all right. Is it the best of all of them? No, it's not. I like out of the Disney Plus series it's not the best one.
No,
I even think none of the Disney Plus series are as good as the Netflix ones, like the Daredevil, Punisher. There's not all the Netflix.
No,
ones,
I know what you're saying.
The Daredevil, Punisher, like those two were really good. You know, like really, really good. And it's like I don't think any of the Disney Plus series have touched those. So
no, I agree, especially Daredevil. Like Daredevil, I don't know, it was just really well done. You know what I mean? Like in terms of Marvel TV, they just really nailed it. It's not just Charlie Cox. I mean, he's great, but they picked out a great Kingpin. And the fight scenes were really well directed. They weren't like just that fast, choppy, blurry type thing that you see in a lot of stuff. Like, you kind of feel the hits in a lot of ways. And plus he gets hit, you know what I mean? He's not just invulnerable guy. You know what I mean? Like he gets a beating. I mean, it's all of that kind of stuff is just really well done. The sidekick characters are,
side characters.
Yeah, they're side characters, and you're not like suddenly discovering that they have superpowers or anything. They're just normal people,
Right.
Because that's another thing that they always like to do is like, what if this person also has powers and shit?
Well, that's what they did with Jessica Jones with her buddy,
right?
Patsy.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh boy, here we go.
Oh,
your friend has a power now too.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. That's kind of how. Did you watch all of the Eternals?
I did.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying you have to like it. You can complain about it here in a second. But I just wanted to say, like, did you notice at the end where basically what's his face was like, well, I've got a kind of a thing like too, but he didn't say what it was, like he was kind of, saying like, hey, I've got powers too, I just haven't told you or
Oh,
whatever.
Dane Whitman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jon Snow, whatever you want to call him.
He's the Black Knight. He doesn't have powers. He just has a magical sword.
Oh, okay. Well, you know everything about this.
But how did you like Hawkeye? Let's finish Hawkeye first.
Yeah. No, I mean, she was kind of annoying. Like they wanted you to really kind of like her, right? But she was so bullheaded all the time, and just kind of like she didn't have to really answer to anybody or anything. It was kind of a little bit. I don't know. She's kind of immature, and I guess they were trying to shoot for that, and he was trying to be more like the parental figure, and that's probably part of what was going on there. But I just didn't find her particularly likable, like you were saying, like Romanoff's, the sister. I like her, maybe they gave her better lines, she's kind of funny, when she's like having the cereal or whatever, breakfast. And she was kind of funny in the movies too, right? She got good lines in the movies. She was arguing with everybody, and the whole family was arguing in Black Widow.
Yeah.
But her character is likable, right? Where this girl, she just, she's going to be the new female Hawkeye. I don't know. She just doesn't come across as likable. Doctor Strange, you've seen Doctor Strange, right?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all there is. Like Cumberbatch, he's not supposed to be likable. You know what I mean? In the beginning, like he's an a-hole, but he has this banter with the other characters. You know what I mean? They're ripping on each other constantly, that it's kind of funny, and then you eventually get to like the guy because, he's self, deprecating or whatever, he's putting himself down at times because of the situations that he's in. So they make him likable. I just didn't get that with her. And so that's not to knock her as an actor or anything. I think it was maybe the way it was written. She didn't have the best lines or, the all this sort of stuff. She was trying to play off Jeremy Renner, and he's so like, he's one of those actors that's always kind of brooding, just kind of always sort of down, even when he's supposed to be in a good mood, that's only going to last for a few minutes and then he's going to be down again about something. It's that Hurt Locker thing and shit. And so it's like, maybe down the road it'll come around and everything. But we talked about this before too. I just feel like the bow and arrow thing is overdone. Like it's not Marvel's fault that there was this show called Arrow that covered it to death. But I thought it was okay. I liked it better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I didn't like it better than Loki and WandaVision. So that's kind of sort of middle of the road, I guess, in there. Yeah. Would I watch it again? No. Like I could maybe watch WandaVision again one day. I could maybe watch Loki again. I wouldn't watch Winter Soldier or this one a second time. So that's kind of where I land with it.
I get it.
But then like I watched Eternals once and I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was average. Like the way I looked at it, and then you can talk about it, is that I was never bored with it really. I could watch that movie, where if I compare it to like some of the DC movies that came out in recent years, like it's hard to watch some of those DC movies. Like they're just like so bad. And so like this movie was more like it did not rise to Marvel's standard, let's say, at all. Right. But was it better than some of those DC movies? I kind of think it was, but it was still a mess. But tell me what you think.
I mean, 20 minutes in, I was kind of like, oh my God, I got to watch this whole thing. It's like, just because of the fact that it's like they're trying to. I get it. They're trying to. You got like all these characters,
right? There's too many,
and all the story. You got to get all the backstory about what everybody does and how they do it and what they're doing and why they're there and all. And what threw me off was like 5,000 BC, 400 AD. 1200 BC, they're like jumping back and forth and going to present time. Now back to 500 this, and I'm just like, what? Why do we got to? And then there's like, and then there's the whole love story,
right?
And that's when I was just like, I got to shut this off. I almost shut it off at that point where the two, what's his name?
Well,
Cersei
and because I think they both may be talented actors, but there was no chemistry there. That dude was brooding. Speaking of another brooding actor, he was brooding through the whole fucking thing. He was just being told probably, yeah, you're depressed because what happened or whatever. And so he's walking through the whole thing just in like a just terrible. And she is kind of, she's a pretty face and she can say her lines and everything, but she's not filled with expression either. You know what I mean? Right. Like it's weird because if you think about it, like Angelina Jolie actually has more like animated acting in this. You know what I mean? Like she's going through this sort of shift between being, I don't know, what is that, possessed or not possessed, and then she's kind of smirky and smiling and fighting because she wants to and having fun when she finds the Excalibur and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it's like your main stars, your two main people are just planks of wood. I don't know.
It was for as a movie, like that could have been a standalone, like had nothing to do with anything, and people would have been like, "Oh, okay." You know what I mean? I'd be like, "Oh, that's interesting who these people are," and blah blah blah. But as far as the Marvel movies go, it's like, well, it didn't really scratch me where I mentioned.
No, I agree.
It was okay and all this stuff, and it's like they connected minimal dots. I mean, it wasn't really like anything where you're like, oh, this is why this is, or this is why this is. The only question, one of the main questions I have is, are you trying to tell me there's like a giant head and a hand sticking out of the earth now?
I think so. I think, yeah.
So it's like, is that somewhere where they're going to go and be like, hey, let's check this giant head out? Like
let's reanimate it. See what
happens. It just kind of, it would have been better if it would have like disappeared.
Yeah, crumbled or something. And
because she just like touches it and it turns into stone or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, you turned all these other things into ashes and the stuff that disappeared. Now you got this giant hand coming out of the ocean. It's just,
no, it was, you're right. I mean, it was just so, you didn't really care about any of these people. And I don't think you really ever did. Like, I kind of like Salma Hayek. Like, you just kind of like Salma Hayek. You see her, you're like, I know Salma. I've seen her in things, she's a good spirit type of thing, But the rest of them, I mean, I just didn't give a crap. And again, like, the Celestials, employ them or whatever. And the thing is it's like, I think I mentioned this last time, but it's like, you got the guy with the eye lasers that can fly and is like super strong. Do you need the guy that shoots the balls of energy too? Like, did you have to bring him along? Like, or the guy that just punches dudes really hard.
And what's with all the rings on his arm? Are those the 10 rings?
That's a good question. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's got them flying around. I was just like, wait. The movie, it didn't do anything for, like, since the very beginning, every movie has had something to do with a big storyline or with
except for the end, right? Like
except for Endgame. Endgame was
no. I mean, the end of this movie, you get Thanos' brother shows up, and you get and half the Eternals go away or something, right? Like the Celestial takes them. I'm not telling people who it is, spoiler alert, but takes them and you're kind of left with this cliffhanger. So I've read that is going to like fall in line with the Fantastic Four or something like that, but that seems so far away. I don't know if they planned that out. It seems like they just announced the Fantastic Four.
Right. But as of right now, if they were to say we're doing an Eternals 2, I wouldn't care. I would be like, I don't care.
I mean, it would have to be a different director. It would have to be redone. And there was too many characters. You don't need them. You didn't. I get the girl's deaf and she's cute and she runs really fast, but we've got a fast runner in the Marvel universe. We didn't need her. She was extraneous, like you could have cut that team down. I know it's just probably going with the comics, you know what I mean? Right. But you could have given like some of those powers to what's her name, Cersei or whatever. You could have given her like the something else other than just touching things and making them turn into flower petals, you know. And you could have given mind control guy something else. I mean, what's he supposed to do when combat's going on? You know what I mean? Just hang out and wait, and then eventually just tell the humans to go away. Like,
talk about brooding, that dude.
Yeah, you're right.
It was just like,
and the little girl, that whole storyline about like the little person that wants to be an adult one day type of thing is so overplayed. I mean, that was Interview with the Vampire shit. Like,
Peter Pan.
Yeah, right. Like it real generic type stuff. And I know I sound like I completely hate this movie. I wasn't bored. It's just that like it like you're saying, it doesn't advance the MCU really at all. Like it's weird, but like I've said before, Marvel's just not doing good with this space shit. Like they're just not good at it.
It's like Black Widow. It's a good movie, I guess, if you're just sitting there watching a movie and you're like, oh, that's cool. But it doesn't do anything for the overall picture.
Right.
You know, because it's like, okay, did I need to see her on an old mission? You know what I mean? Did you really have to ruin the Taskmaster for me?
Right.
Like, come on.
It's like 2.5 hours of Eternals too. It could have certainly been shortened up. The romance stuff was just too long and reflective and stuff, you know, and that could have been tightened up. But like you could have kept it all and just shortened it a little bit.
I didn't. Now, mind you, I did watch this movie, but I did not watch it all in one sitting. It was like I had to keep coming back, and there were times when I was like, "Oh man, I got to watch this."
I saw it in the theater with Sue Lee, and she didn't hate it. She was, you know, we both thought it wasn't as bad as people were saying it was, but it wasn't great either.
Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of the characters from the comic books, not all of them. Like, I don't know the deaf girl. I didn't know the mind control dude. I didn't really know Ajax, but I knew I-Beam's guy, and I can't remember any of their names now. You know, Cersei and Athena and all that stuff. It's like I knew a couple of them because and it was just like, oh, okay, like I know these people. I remember these people, and so I wasn't excited about them in the comic books. So
now, okay, I'm with you at this point. Like I don't think Marvel's going to roll the dice on a second one. I mean, if they do anything, they'll do something as a TV show.
Right.
I just don't think they're going to. They've probably got some of those actors under contract. Probably the one that the Celestial took. You know what I mean? Right. And so they're probably going to pop up in something else. My question is what do you think they're steering towards with them and with I'll just say Star Fox. I mean, if you don't know who Star Fox is, you'll eventually find out. I don't really care about Pip.
Eros of Titan.
What?
Oh, that's his real name, Eros.
Oh, right. But like, what do you think this is moving? I know you say it's Kang and everything, but like, I don't know.
I don't know why. I don't know why they brought Star Fox in. I don't know what he's got to do with anything, because he was like in the comic books, he was a B player. He wasn't anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was somebody that showed up and everybody went like, who's this dude? And they were like, oh, it's Star Fox. We're going to call him. They're like, we're going to call him. He's from the stars and he's kind of foxy. That's literally what the Wasp said, was like, well, he's from the stars and he's kind of foxy. So let's call him Star Fox. And it's like, okay, that's kind of weird. And he was just like, in the comic books, he's just a dude that can make people feel certain ways. You know what I mean?
Right.
He can control your whatever,
emotions.
your brain. Or, yeah. You can make you feel happy. You can make you feel ecstatic or sad or whatever. And it's like, and he can fly. It's like, okay, what? Who? Why? And even in the comic books, it was just like, they didn't necessarily want him around, but he just stuck around. You know what I mean? They were like, okay, well, we don't really need you. And he's like, well, I got nothing to do, so I'm just going to stick around with you guys. And it's just like, so I don't know. I don't know where this is leading to.
It really does seem like they are building towards this something to do with space, and I get it, but it seems like at the moment we just don't know what the stakes are. Like there's no villain. Like we used to, even long before we had Infinity War or whatever, there was at least that hint in Iron Man. You know what I mean? Like at the very end, you kind of had a glimpse of Thanos, and you had this sort of the sky opening up, and these alien things attacking Earth and stuff, and in the earlier Avengers films, and right now, like, I don't know, there's no big bad, and I guess that's part of the. I mean, maybe it'll be Kang or whatever, but it's weird right now because like when these things happen, when they get taken, when he shows up, and probably we're going to see things in other movies too. It's kind of like, I don't know why I care. It's like the Avengers aren't really a team right now, and it's like, okay, I don't know what that matters because there's nobody really to fight. Right now, it's almost depressing. Like everybody you meet, like, Winter Soldier and the Falcon, they're bummed out. You know what I mean? They're bummed out over Iron Man. They're bummed out over their past. You watch Black Widow. You just being reminded that she's, spoiler alert, everybody. If you haven't watched it by now, though, come on. Doesn't even happen in Black Widow. But she's dead. She dies in the Infinity War or whatever, Gauntlet or Endgame. And, and Iron Man's gone, everything. And so everybody's just brooding and sad and stuff. And I can't wait for the next Black Panther where everybody there is going to be all sad that the Black Panther's dead or something. Right. Like it's the whole MCU right now is in a state of mourning. And I guess I'm just kind of looking towards, what are the stakes at this point? I don't know if we have any.
There is there's a new trailer out for the new Doctor Strange movie.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know if you've seen it or not.
I've seen the earlier one, I guess, but I haven't seen the most recent one, no.
Okay. Well, because it deals with the multiverse, there's a version of Iron Man in there.
Is it Downey Jr.?
Nope.
Okay.
It's somebody else. I don't want to ruin it for everybody. But.
Well, they did talk to him at Robert Downey Jr. at one point, and they were saying that he might reprise the role, but not in a way that like it's you know what I mean, like it's him, and this whole multiverse thing might make some sense, if he pops out from the past or an alternate dimension or something.
This is a spoiler alert. This is a spoiler I'm going to give you. There's a glimpse of Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four outfit.
Really? I have to look at that.
I'm assuming it's Reed Richards because he's not invisible and he's not a rock and he's not on fire. So,
Yeah. And maybe he's a robot.
Could be. I think that's how they're going to introduce a lot of, I think with this Doctor Strange movie, they're going to introduce a lot of the people like the X-Men, Fantastic Four, like all the people they didn't have.
I don't know if they're going to do X-Men. I mean, they could, but I think we would hear rumblings of that. I mean, there would be like actors being signed to contracts, and we would hear like that there's something going on. Like I don't think the X-Men, the other stuff sounds totally plausible, but X-Men still seems to me to be oddly missing from the MCU. Maybe you'll be right though. Maybe you're right.
Well, that's the thing is they like I said, they show you a glimpse of somebody else's Iron Man. They show you a glimpse of some dude in a Fantastic Four outfit. What better way to bring the X-Men in and not tell you? You know what I mean? Or bring un X-Men, like just one. You know what I mean? Sure. So you only need, and then who knows who will play?
It'll be Jubilee.
Right. You know what I mean? It could be anybody. McAvoy shows up and you're just like, oh, it's Professor X.
Disney. So have you let's move off Marvel. Did you watch the new Boba Fett?
Yes, there's 4 episodes out, right?
Yeah. Did you watch all?
Yeah. Yes.
What do you think?
It's all right for a slow show.
It's just like it is kind of a slow show.
Do I really need to watch Boba Fett ride a bantha across the desert, like for 5 minutes?
Yeah, they are kind of dragging it a little bit. That is true.
As soon as they show him in the back to tank, I'm just like, oh, here we go. We're going back in time.
It was kind of fun in the beginning. Like when you first start watching it, he gets out of this, the pit and everything. Yeah. You see the wreck of the whatever that thing is called, the barge. Yeah, and then it gets the Jawas come up, and they got their big thing, and I mean it's just fun to see all that stuff right away, and then you get like the Tusker Raiders, and the outfits all look pretty good and everything, and I thought that was really cool. But I agree with you, it was kind of slow, but I don't mind it too much because it's pretty well acted and everything. I don't like the Disney moments. I don't like the Scooby Gang with their motorcycles. Okay, I think that was totally just inserted by Disney corporate to sell toys, and
Right.
that chase scene at the end of episode 3 was terrible. And unnecessary. Would that guy have a car? Like, you know what I mean? Like he had a hover car, like a Cadillac, and they were chasing him on like little like Vespa scooter type things that are all cost. I mean, it was so bad. Like it did. And you've mentioned this before when we were talking about The Mandalorian, where you were saying like, you know, would they really speak this way? You know, and I noticed that on the episode where she throws the grenade in that thing's mouth and she's like fire in the hole. I'm like, what is she from? What is she in Vietnam?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like, you know, or whatever. A miners would say it back in the 1800s or something. But I mean, she would only say that if she was from, you know, it was so out of place. It's like, it's a lazy writing. Like a lot of the writing is good. It's like Favreau's writing it or something. A lot of the writing is great. And then there's like these sorts of things where it's just lazy. And it's like, you could have said something else, like eat that bitch or something, you know, and it would have been totally fine. But fire in the hole was just, you know, that it just takes you out of it. It irritates me. And then I didn't like the trash robot or the rat catcher robot. That was totally Disney too. Chasing around that thing
kitchen or whatever.
That was so for the little kids. Let's sell some toys.
Let's have a good laugh at the expense of Boba Fett.
I mean, it just, you know, I try to overlook it. I know who their employer is. I know what they're doing, but those are the kind of wink, wink things that Disney likes to do that can just ruin some shit. But whatever, you know, as long as it's not too often, it's all right, I guess. But it just feels, But the rest of it's okay. I mean, you're right. You are right. It kind of draws. I did like the huts, right? It's more like I like the idea that there were more than just one fat slug looking dude. You know what I mean? Like they're a race or something, and that there were more of them, and he had relatives or whatever. Like that was kind of a great idea. Although what didn't make sense to me, at least it hasn't so far, was that they kind of like came there, sent the goth Chewbacca after him. After goth Chewbacca fails, then they're just like, you can keep him. Yeah, we're just going to give up and leave. You know what I mean? Like it seemed odd, and hopefully they'll make more sense.
It's because somebody else is coming. There's so many weird names and stuff. There's sometimes like you're watching that, and there's so many weird names because they're mentioning either a person, a planet, a place, or something like that.
Boss Taka is coming or something, and you're like, I don't remember which one that is.
Exactly. It's like a whole sentence doesn't make. Boss Taka came in for the Ghost Dynasty, and then when they came through the Gastinani came by, and you're just like, what the hell did he just say?
Right.
Like, what does all that mean?
Yep.
Like I'm not up on your vernacular.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It was, and when he goes up on them kids with the scooters, and he's like, hey, give us the water back. And they're just like, we do what we want. We're going to do whatever we want. It's just like, he could waste all these dudes.
Right.
In no time. It's like, you know, he's going to make them do something. He's going to hire them. And then he goes back and he finds the goth Chewbacca, and he's just like, come with me. And it's just like, so all these characters that he's fighting or he's got troubles with, he just turns around and goes, I'm the new boss. Come follow me. And it's just like, they go.
Yeah. You know, the thing, there's a good point. And the thing is it's like, you know, Boba Fett, you know, it's kind of funny, first of all. Like, if you think about it, like, Boba Fett was hardly in the first 3 movies. You know what I mean? Like, he's a presence. He's barely in the first one.
Wasn't even in the first one.
Okay, there you go. I wasn't sure if he had a cameo in the background somewhere.
He may. I think in the redos or whatever they used him.
In the second one, you know, obviously he just basically picks up Solo. You know what I mean? Yeah. We had a deal. You know, takes him and flies off with him. That's all you get with him, right? And then in the third one, he, you know, essentially he doesn't die, but that's how it was for years. You know what I mean? Right. Like, he's in the beginning, kind of has a stupid death. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it's Lucas all over it, you know? Just gets basically bumped and flies into the Zarlak pit. It's depressing. And it's just funny how, as kids, we created Boba Fett, like all of us out there.
Right.
Like we created the myth of him being this cool guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and a badass and all this sort of stuff, because like he was, again, barely in the films, but we just, as kids, that was like, he's awesome and cool. He's got that, rifle, and he's got the cool helmet and shit. I don't know. And that's become like, now we have a show, but I just thought that was kind of cool in a way, that like the myth of Boba Fett was more interesting than his actual movie appearances, because it's really limited.
And that's the thing, is like when they were like back in the day, they were selling the action figures. You remember how the action figures were?
Right.
And they were like, send 5 proof of purchases and $2 to this place, and we'll send you a Boba Fett action figure. And it was just like, oh my God. That's where it kind of like,
right.
That's where it got to a point where it's like, oh my God, this guy's super cool. He's got his own figure now.
Right.
And he was different than everybody. He's got a giant rocket in his back.
Kind of has like armor on, and he's
not a stormtrooper, but he's cooler.
Right. Right. I mean, right. Because the stormtroopers suck. I mean, like when you're looking at them, they can't shoot anything, and they're always getting, knocked out or whatever. And, and I mean, the Jedi and Darth Vader, I mean, everybody, they're cool, but in terms of like other characters, like it was Boba Fett, but there were other bounty hunters. Like, there were, even in the action figure, you get a Hammerhead or something. I don't remember if he was a pilot or a bounty hunter, but there were other bounty hunter,
IG-88, Bosk, Dengar.
Yeah, Bosk, and even Greedo, is some sort of thing. Shot first. And handed. And but anyway. Like who is like the guy playing Boba Fett? Like, this is something I wasn't quite sure of when I was watching The Mandalorian. Is like, this guy, like, is he from the films? Or is he the original voice of Boba Fett? Like, what is his connection, this actor? Like, what is going, like, I'm missing something here.
He was, I think the way it works is he was the original in Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, right? Really? Okay.
I think. I'm not
well,
positive.
You know more than me, so it's,
I'm pretty sure that he was the voice,
Yeah.
Put him in the cargo hold.
Right.
And he's no good to be dead.
Right.
And all that. So he was that voice or whatever. And they just hired him because he was nothing. They were like, he's just a bounty hunter. It's no big deal. He's going to be gone in the next movie. So they didn't care. So when they did the next one, I believe they had somebody else do it. And then he died, and then everybody flipped out. They were like, that's not the one. That's not the voice. He's not the guy that we heard in Empire Strikes. And then they were just like, oh shit. So they used him. They used that original Boba Fett for the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
They brought this guy that's doing Boba Fett now. I can't remember his name.
Okay, so this guy he also voice acted in the Clone Wars and stuff.
He was Django.
Oh, okay.
So that's,
I can't even remember that. Like, dude, I can't, like, we talk about End War all the time, and I forget who the fuck died and who didn't. So don't ask me to remember shit that happened in Clone Wars. Like, I have no memory of it anymore.
Yeah. Everybody threw a tizzy because they were just like, oh my God, he's not the real Boba Fett. And it's like, yeah, but nobody really notices, and nobody really,
I kind of remember Django being like, and this isn't, I'm not saying this guy isn't, but why do I feel like Django kind of looked a little South American or something? Like, he looked like he was, and this guy is that same guy? He doesn't look that way now. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe because he's bald or something, or,
well, yeah, that's what it is he doesn't have hair.
Yeah.
So it throws you off. But yeah, he was, so I think that's what it was. He was in the Empire Strikes Back, and then,
so it's the same guy. Okay. All right, that's fine. Well, that makes more sense, because I was wondering, like, it was a weird choice of an actor. I think he's doing a fine job. It's a little sluggish, but I mean, he's been through a lot. So I'm like, just give him, but I don't like that he's sort of being a good guy. I like Boba Fett to be a mercenary. Like, I like him to be in it for his own profit, whether you're good or bad. You know what I mean? And they're Disneying it a little bit here by making it look like, he's got a good streak in him. I don't want Boba Fett to be good. You know what I mean? I don't want him to push the button and kill a family of orphans or something, right? Like I don't want him to be like a cruel guy, you know what I mean? But if somebody offers him money, to assassinate an individual, like I kind of want him to take the deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
you don't want him to go there and be like, well, I can't do this. I'll give them their money back and kill them.
Because then he's just like everybody else, and I get it. Oh, I hung out with the Tuscas and now I've got to change a heart and everything. It's like, okay.
Yeah. That's what I noticed in this fourth. I just watched the fourth episode today, and that's what I noticed there, where he's sitting there talking to May from Agents of Shield, and he's like,
"It's true, yeah, I forgot about that." Yeah,
and he's like, and she's like, "What do you mean we're hunters?" And he's like, "Yeah, kind of bored of that. Don't want to do that anymore." And it's just like, what?
Yeah, it just irritates me. It just because then he's just like every cookie cutter guy. You know what I mean? Like he's just another badass that does the right thing, and he's just tough and knocks guys out, and you know what I'm saying? Like it's like everything else.
He's the Punisher of Star Wars.
The characters his character in general would just be far more interesting and complex if he did things for his own motive, and his own gratitude. If he wants to steal something, just do some crooked, not run the crime syndicate, you know what I mean? Which is basically him getting water for people. Now he's helping everyone, don't be that, be like, be a criminal. I don't know. It just, because that's who he is. Like you're sort of ruining it. He's not Luke Skywalker. We got a Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. Even when he was talking to May, and he goes, there's an advantage to people thinking you're dead. Well, you just took over a city and a crime outfit. Right. Everybody sees you,
and you're using your real name. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, you could be striking from the shadows. Nobody knows you're there. Nobody knows who you are. But it's just he got Disneyed.
Yeah, he did. Exactly, and I think that like the interesting thing that the Mandalorian had in it that we haven't really seen right now with Boba Fett for some reason is the decay of the Empire. Right, so the Empire was destroyed, and you have these sort of like dirty stormtroopers and abandoned complexes that are still kind of run by different guys looking for profit and this sort of thing. That's kind of interesting, right? Like what the vestiges of the Empire, like what's going on with that,
Yeah.
And that's not playing right now. Like what we're seeing right now is he's just waiting for another trade syndicate to come in and do battle with him, I guess. And who gives a shit? Well, you know what I mean? Like that's from the outside, like we got no stake in the game, and we kind of know he's going to come out on top, right? Like they're not going to kill Boba Fett at the end of this series. So it's sort of like where we're at right now. I don't know. It reminds me of that. I forget which Star Wars one it was where they were like robbing that train, and I was watching it with Woody Harrelson and everything in it. And I was like, I don't care about robbing this train.
Solo.
Yeah. Solo. You're right. Like they're making they're bringing him like a solo, or Orlando series. Yeah.
Let's put it in the pile.
Yeah, they're going to Disney up Lando too. I bet. You know what I mean? Like and he's another one. Like you know what I mean? Like he double crossed. Yeah, he's a good guy. You know what I mean? Like he's supposed to be, but at the end of the day, he's kind of looking out for his own interest. Darth Vader's saying, "Look, I'm going to kill you unless you hand over Han Solo, your buddy." He's going to let that happen. Then at the last minute, he changes his mind and helps everybody out and stuff like that. But like that's at the end. You know what I mean? Like that's at the end of the thing. So it's like, but before he has this whole change of heart, back in the movie type of thing, when he's played by what's his face?
Billy D.
Or no, before Glover, right? And like he shouldn't be like that nice. You know what I mean? Like he should betray people and be a scoundrel, right?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Because that's what he is. And like you're not just a scoundrel because you talk like, like you are one, you know what I mean? Like you got to do something that deserves that. And
Right.
I just feel like, yeah, it's the Disney thing. And that's what worries me. It's like, they're doing some great stuff here, but they gotta just don't be so heavy handed. Let some of these characters be complex, and they don't always have to be good. We even as kids, like we were little kids, we saw like, Darth Vader choke out some guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we could handle it. We know what's going on. Darth Vader was a bad dude. We thought he was cool, but we know who the bad guys were. People were getting shot. Like in the very beginning of Star Wars, the stormtroopers come in and murder a bunch of people. You know what I mean? They blow open the door. Yeah, they're just slaughtering guys left and right and everything. And but then it's like, well, we got to make everybody good. Like I don't know. And we're gonna get Obi-Wan Kenobi soon, and
don't care about that either.
And Hayden Christensen's supposed to also come and be in it. And it's like, are they going to make Darth Vader a good guy again?
Yeah, right.
Is he going to have a change of heart and be all like, I don't believe in killing. I hung out with the Ewoks and they taught me a new way of thinking or something. Like, just, but listen, I'm enjoying watching the show. I do like a lot of the throwback stuff they put in there, and I want to see where it goes and everything. There's not a lot else to watch right now, so it's like I do turn it on and enjoy it, but I just wish that Disney would get its foot off the throat of some of these characters. That's all.
Yeah. Jerry,
got that out of my system.
Yeah.
Did you watch that? Do you have Netflix?
Yeah.
Did you watch that Archive 81?
No, I don't even know what that is.
It's new. It's really popular. It's basically this dude he repairs old videotapes, right? And like from fire and stuff like that. And so like he's given this task by this sort of, wealthy corporation or person or something to go to this one location and work on these videotapes and bring them back, restore them. And then he like watches them and there's this mystery that unfolds. And it's kind of, it's sort of spooky. I wouldn't say it's scary, right? But it's kind of got some spookiness to it. And there's a pretty decent story with it. But I have a hard time watching any of these shows because they're so long. You know what I mean? Like it could be a movie and it would have been over in a couple hours, but instead it's like a movie that they're dragging out for like 8 hours or something. Yeah. And sometimes that gets to be a little bit hard for me to pay attention to, but it's pretty decent overall. I mean, if you get bored, you could at least watch the beginning of it and see what you think, because it's very popular. Yeah. I know you don't like to watch all the things that are popular. We talked about
when people tell me to watch something, I don't watch it. Right. So,
but if you just all I'm saying is if you just see it and you're like, maybe I'll look at this for a minute. Yeah. Just see if it catches your interest or not. Because Larry really liked it. He binge watched the whole thing. I'm still working my way through it. It's good. It's just it's just a lot.
That's my point. If Larry liked it, the dude watches bad movies.
I know.
On purpose.
I know. He likes a shtick. He sure likes a shtick. Yeah. If something's got some kind of a goofy angle, that's what Larry finds entertaining.
Yeah.
It's like with bands. Like if you dress up like I don't know, the McDonald Land characters and you play heavy metal, Larry would love that. Like because it's a shtick, and
Black Sabbath.
Anything like that. But he does like normal bands too. I mean, actually, there's not too many bands that Larry doesn't like, but the ones that he goes out and sees a lot of times are shtick bands that I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily go see them.
I would rather just go to McDonald's and then go watch Black Sabbath, as opposed to just integrating the two together.
Right.
I remember some chick at work asked me that. She goes, "Hey, did you see this years ago or whatever when they got like popular for like a minute?" And some chick was like, "Look, Mac Sabbath," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not interested." She's like, "Oh, aren't you a downer?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not a downer." I go, "But why would I want to hear Black Sabbath music talking about cheeseburgers and Big Macs?"
Right. It's
like frying pans and French fries. It's like, okay, I get the joke. Yeah, that's funny. Ha ha ha. But I'm not I'm not running around like jamming that on my CD player.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
cruising around like, hey, everybody.
It's kind of like the Weird Al Yankovic thing, right? Like you would watch the video that he would do and it would be funny, but you would never be driving around in your car throwing on Weird Al. You know what I mean? To listen to it. Like maybe if you had a friend in the car and you'd be like, this is kind of funny. You should listen to this once. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're just, what's the point? You've already heard it. It's funny once. It's silly after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah, it's like the Oakley Dokleys and there's all kinds of bands. Guar even, like Guar is historically famous, but didn't write the best songs in the world.
Hey, Scum Dogs of the Universe is a great record.
Really? You think so?
I think so, but that's just because I listened to it.
I mean, maybe I haven't listened to that. I mean, I've heard some of their music, but I never really got into it.
But you're right. I mean, that's what that is. It's like this corny. We're from space and we got frozen in Antarctica, and your hairspray released us from the ice. And it's like, okay, it's a dumb storyline, but it's still heavy metal, so it's okay. They're shooting you with blood and stuff.
At the time when you're young, teenager or whatever we were, then that's great. Especially at that point. There wasn't a lot of anything like that. It was metal was so serious all the time that,
Remember Ludachrist or whatever? They had that song, Don't Call Me Dude. Don't call me dude. And it was all heavy and stuff. And it's just like, he's telling this story about how people say, hey, dude. And he goes crazy and like kills him. It's just like, don't call me dude. Green Jelly.
Yeah, right. A lot of funny bands, right? And then like Faith No More even was trying to like separate themselves from being like a serious metal band. You know what I mean? Like
That's Mike Patton's fault.
They were doing metal and then they were trying to like just push away from it by being a fun band because I mean, I get it. Metal was way too serious back then. It was just too much.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's an hour, folks. Sorry if we talked too much about stuff you don't have any interest in. There was no base topics this week, but we did miss last week, and we're back in a groove now. So
next week we'll talk about dead babies or something.
Yeah, some horrific thing. I've had a couple of things on my mind, but before recording this episode, I couldn't put it together. So we'll get there. All right, thanks. Later.
Peace.
You've been listening to Oblast with Don and Kevin. If you'd like to write into the show, send an email to oblast@vgn.us. That is VGN as in video game news. And be sure to check out our Patreon page, which is at patreon.com/VGN, where you can get all of our shows, our videos, and some musings. Be sure to tune in each week for new episodes on our Patreon page or every other week on the public RSS feed that you're subscribed to now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Peace.